So in the last video, I spoke a little bit about the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in the sign of Aries and what I think it means for the collective. So now let's talk about Saturn in the sign of Aries as a Saturn return or Saturn in your birth chart. So now we're speaking about the natal placement of Saturn in Aries and what I think y'all should be looking out for when it comes to navigating this energy and navigating your Saturn return. When it comes to navigating your Saturn return, it's all about, just think of it as an audit, okay? Whatever the energy of Saturn in your sign of Aries means for you, it means that those particular traits, characteristics, skills, whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing, creating, whatever you're being challenged to do consistently throughout your life, you're going to be audited when you have your Saturn return, right? Your Saturn return is going to give you the opportunity to see, if you didn't see it before, if you didn't recognize that this was a challenge, this was an issue, this was something that you're supposed to be working on all those 30 years or 50 odd years, if you didn't see it before this particular period where you have your Saturn return, this is where you're either going to find out about it now clearly, and definitely it's going to be at the forefront of your life, your experience, and your mind, or you're going to start reaping the rewards of the work that you actually been putting in. All right, so Saturn returns do not have to always be a bad thing. A lot of people like to put a lot of fear factor around Saturn. A lot of people are afraid of Saturn, if you notice. They're afraid of Saturn and they're afraid of Aries. And therefore, Saturn in Aries is like they're freaking out. That's just the general vibration that is the undertone of their discussion. But, no fear mongering around here. We're just going to be talking about what sort of energy Aries has, what sort of energy Saturn has, and what it means when Saturn is placed in the sign of Aries in your birth chart. So if you're interested, just keep watching. Everybody knows their sun sign, which is the will, the ego, the drive. It's what it is that we want to do, to accomplish, and to be in this life. But in order to do that, or be that, or accomplish that in your life, you're going to have to pay a price. You're going to have to set up a structure, set up certain stability in your life to maintain that ego, that sun, right? So for example, I'm a Libra sun and my Saturn is in Capricorn. So when it comes to the foundations that I need to create, the duties, the dues, the insurance that I need to have, the foundation that I need to have, the structure I need to create for my particular sun sign, that is Saturn, right? Another thing is emotional stability. In order for you to have emotional stability, emotional security in your life, Saturn requires you to pay a price for that. So wherever Saturn is placed in your chart, this is the place where you're supposed to be working. Okay, you're supposed to be working. If you're a person that has Saturn along with the moon or Saturn conjunct the sun, you actually have a lot more experience and exposure to Saturnian energy. I would consider you a Saturnian. If you also have Saturn placed in your first house, you are what I consider a Saturnian. Whether or not your moon or sun is there, Saturn is so integral to who you are. Saturn has been following you on your journey and is a big part of your psyche, of your identity. Okay, so while other people may not necessarily be as connected with their Saturn sign, with Saturnian energy, you are going to be very aware of it. It's going to trigger you a lot in your life. And that is a good thing, okay? Because having these types of placements give you a lot of opportunities to build muscle. I like to think of life as a race, right? So your sun sign, your moon sign, whatever is on a race. Everybody else who doesn't have Saturn conjunct or in sharp aspect to the sun or the moon or the rising sign, they're just pretty much just going off on their race. They may fly off ahead of you, right? Because they don't have that Saturnian harsh aspect. But for you, when you have Saturn on the sun or moon or in the first house, you are running through life with a huge backpack, right? Everybody else be running light. You got weight on your shoulders. You got to push. You're blowing steam trying to get up there and you're going to be delayed, right? Saturn brings delays. But what you're going to learn is that over time, this person who's running with the sack on the back builds muscle, okay? And soon enough, you're running laps around everybody else. Okay, so that is the benefit of actually working with your Saturnian energy, especially if it is in very close conjunction or aspect to your sun or your moon sign or your rising sign. So if you know your birth time roughly within about an hour, it's really good to see what house Saturn is placed in your chart, right? The house that Saturn is placed in your chart is going to tell you what area of your life you're going to have significant delays and where it is you need to be putting in the work. This is also where you could get a lot of rewards as well. Wherever Saturn is, there is a job to do, but you're also going to get a big bonus. Okay. So you could either get beaten, which is what everybody likes to associate with Saturn, or you could get all the blessings. They don't like to talk about that. Saturn brings a lot of blessings, but it's the blessings of hard work. You're going to have to build the foundation, actually cooperate, actually grow up. Okay? Wherever Saturn is placed, in whichever house or sign it is placed in, you are required to master that energy. When Saturn is in a house, for example, the second house, you are supposed to master your finances, master your self-worth. You're supposed to build unshakable self-worth and, have good income, good savings, assets, and so on and so forth. But you can't follow everybody else and utilize this energy just willy-nilly. You need structure, right? You need strategy. You need resource management. Saturn is the Lord of karma, and that is all about balance, reciprocity, correspondence. What you put in is what you get out. Nothing more, nothing less. If you try to overdo it or imbalance it, you're going to be leveled out real fast, okay? If you ever notice a lot of people who gain a lot in life only to fall flat on their face, they have disturbed this particular law of correspondence, this particular karmic law. You are going to be leveled out if you disobey this particular law. That is what Saturn is all about. Structure, duty, responsibility, equity, balance, fairness. And that's the reason why Saturn loves the sign of Libra. Libra is a sign of the scales and naturally understands how to navigate that energy. And that's the best place for Saturn to be in. Now, Saturn liking a sign does not mean that you, the individual that has that particular placement, knows how to operate in the energy. A lot of people like to say this, so they like to talk about Saturn in Aries as if it's a bad thing, and that is not the truth. The mere fact that Saturn shows up in that sign, it shows that this is an area where you need to master. It does not mean that you actually have mastered it. It means that you're supposed to be working on it, okay? It's all neutral. There's nothing to be hyped about when Saturn is in Libra, and there's nothing to be gloomy about when Saturn is in Aries. It's all energy, and we're all supposed to work with the energy that we have. You got it because you are supposed to work on it, okay? So Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It is the I am. It is the identity being formed. It is the spark of life. And all of those words kind of give us the energy of Aries. Aries is a very impulsive sign. It's the first fire sign. It is the cardinal fire, the spark that began the whole thing, right? So because it has a lot to do with this energy, the whole spark, it can be super passionate. It can be very impulsive, very aggressive. It can hold a lot of anger as well. Also, it has to do with the identity. So there can be a lot of confidence here. There could also be a lot of egotism here as well. There can be a little bit of imbalance with the ego as well. The sister sign of Aries is actually Libra, where we're actually learning in the sign of Libra to bring some balance between me and you. But Aries is a sign of the I am. So it is more concerned with the self. So when Saturn is in the sign of this energy of Aries, you are not allowed to be like any other Aries and utilize your energy just however you want to. Okay, you are required to master impulse. You are required to master this spark, master the vital force, master your identity. So imagine that the typical Aries is like a street fighter or something like that, getting in brawls, wrestling matches on the streets, in a bar somewhere drunk, just impulsive all over the place. Imagine that is a sign of Aries. You are required to act like a Jedi. You're supposed to be like a Tai Chi master, a big Kung Fu master. You know what I'm saying? That's the energy of Saturn being in Aries. You're still utilizing the same force, but you're doing it with control. That is what is important here. Mastery of that energy. So Saturn is going to place a major break on the way how you navigate the energy of Aries in your life. You're not going to be allowed to just be impulsive, to be rash, to be selfish. There will be consequences if you're operating in the Aries energy just willy-nilly, just no structure, no order, no nothing. Just wasting your energy here and there. That's not going to work. You're going to be punished. That's where you're going to end up having a lot of challenges, a lot of fear in your life as well. Thinking about impulse control, control of the will, the ego, control of the anger, control of aggression, control of speed. You're going to have to stop, think with patience and strategy. Saturn is a planet of logic, of using the mind, not just the body. You're not going to be allowed to just be reactive. You're going to have to use your mind, use strategy. So everybody else that has Aries in whatever area of their life where you have it, they want to speed and they get away with just being impulsive and speed and irrational, right? Just being rash, brusque. They're allowed to do that. But if you have Saturn in that spot, you cannot speed, right? Or you're going to end up burning out and hurting yourself, okay? Because that's going to be like you driving with the e-brake up. Okay, you're gonna just burn the hell out of that car, right? Or damage the car because you're trying to start when you got a stop on you. So this brake that Saturn puts in place is to get you to navigate your energy with a lot more structure, a lot more control. So you're gonna have to be patient, create a plan, weigh pros and cons, decide where you invest your energy, what is worth your energy, utilize your energy with a lot more mastery, discernment as well. Aries likes it now, 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 now. Saturn is like, not yet. That is how Saturn deals with Aries, okay? So I think a lot of times you may actually feel as if you're not getting the results that you want. You know, it's not coming fast enough. But you're going to have to look at your life as a more long-term plan. Okay, start strategizing for a more long-term plan. Stop looking at life as a hurry come up type thing. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. With Saturn here, you are going to face delays because mastery is mandatory. Okay? Sudden luck and sudden success and all of that, it won't last. Even if you get away with doing that, it's going to crash and burn just as quickly. So you may as well just start working with the energy properly. If you have Saturn in Aries, I like to say to look to the energy of Mars in Capricorn. Mars in Capricorn also utilizes a lot of aggression as well. Also utilizes their anger. Also utilizes their impulsive energy. But notice I said they utilize it, okay? It doesn't control them. They control the impulse. They control the anger. They control the movement, the aggression. So everybody knows that the Ram is a sign of Aries, very aggressive, you know, very confrontational and so on. But think of Mars in Capricorn as embodying the Aryan energy with some amount of structure to it, right? Think of them as an alligator. Also aggressive, also impulsive as well, but they're doing things very differently. The alligator is able to hold their energy still beneath the water to the point where nobody knows that they're there because they're just waiting to go out and get what they want. The impulse is actually only utilized to strike, to take what it is that they want. They don't move until they know that this is the target. They're not going to just expel their energy anywhere, everywhere. They're not just all over the place, just getting up. No, they are controlled. So when Saturn is in Aries, it's not that you don't have the energy. You need precision. You need direction. You need structure. That's all. So it's all about finding a way to utilize the Aryan energy with more stability, more structure. So Saturn places the brakes on this particular area of your life to enable you to develop some amount of control. This particular area of your life, this particular energy is going to come with some amount of fears and insecurities as well. This is where your insecurities are going to be, right? Because pain is one of our most important teachers, right? Wherever you have a lot of pain in your life, you tend to want to work on those areas to get rid of the pain, right? People may actually even reject the Aryan impulse and neglect from doing anything. And that is not good either. You're supposed to utilize the energy of Aries. And you can't master it if you're not using it. A lot of people who may be afraid of their own energy, afraid to project that energy, may just do nothing at all. And let self-doubt just put the whole system on a stop. But what happens is the energy gets built up until you blow like a volcano.